President Biden's open border policies leading to a more than 10% surge in the ranks of illegals in this country, the U.S. illegal immigrant population. Numbers from the Census Bureau and the Bureau of Labor Statistics show that the number of illegal migrants growing from 10.2 million when Biden took office to now 11.6 million illegals in America in the month of April. Joining me right now, live from McAllen, Texas, is Georgia Congressman, House Energy and Commerce Committee member, and House Budget Committee member, Buddy Carter. Congressman Carter, great to see you. Thanks very much for being here. You're coming to us from your hotel as you visit the southern border and a congressional delegation. First, tell me about what you're seeing. First, give us your reaction to these numbers. I want to get your take on exactly what you saw on your trip. But tell me your reaction to this 11.6 million illegal population in America.
Well, it's unbelievable. I tell you, a country without borders is not a country at all, and we don't have any borders right now. It is just simply ridiculous what is going on down here. What I saw down here yesterday is essentially what I saw a year ago when I was down here with President Trump, and that is just overcrowding in the facilities. We visited one of the processing facilities that has a capacity of 1,200, and they had 1,500 people in there. I saw Border Patrol agents who are just overwhelmed and continue to be overwhelmed, just as they were a year ago. And having to do humanitarian work instead of the law enforcement that they were trained to do and that they're expected to do. They're so overwhelmed. One of the agents actually described it as being like having a bucket in front of a fire hydrant. And he said, you know, we don't need another bucket. What we need is for the tap to be turned off. And they're doing great work, and I applaud the Border Patrol agents, but this is not what they were trained to do, and it's not what we are paying them to do. But they're having to just work as processors right now instead of as law enforcement officers like they're supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's the issue. We can't possibly have enough bodies to watch the border when you've got processing jobs to be done. I heard the same when I went to the border, Congressman. We've been showing some of the pictures that you sent us. You sent us these pictures of unused border wall laying in the desert in Texas. You're seeing all of this equipment, millions of dollars of taxpayer money rusting away. What are they doing here with all of this border wall material after President Biden canceled any more construction of the border wall?
Well, it's just sitting there rusting. We went to a yard, as you indicated. We visited a yard there that had over $350 million worth of materials just sitting there, rusting, deteriorating. And it's not being used at all. You know, during the Trump administration, there was 110 miles of wall approved. We approved it in Congress. And of course, Biden stopped that, and only 20 miles of wall have been built thus far. And not only that, but in that 20 miles, you'll see gaps in the walls where people just can go through. I mean, it's so ridiculous and so discouraging to see that, because walls work, and that's what we need. And it was made clear by the Border Patrol agents that we need to continue and finish that wall, that we need to have Title 42 in place. They were very adamant about that and very concerned about that, because they indicated that if we don't have Title 42 in place, instead of the 8,000 to 10,000 coming across, you can expect 18,000 to 20,000 people coming across.
Yeah, look, I understand it's about $100 million in border wall materials that were just left behind. But, Congressman, you make an important point about Title 42. What are you seeing? Because just last week, we were told it was 7,000 people a day. Now you're saying it's between 8,000 and 10,000 a day, and it could go up to 18,000 to 20,000 should Title 42 go away. What is the situation at the border? Are you seeing piles of people wanting to come in because they were expecting Title 42 to go away?
That's exactly right. The Border Patrol agents told us that they are just congregating just south of the border, just waiting for Title 42 to be canceled so that they can come in. And they expect an influx once Title 42, hopefully it won't be, but if it is indeed canceled, then they expect that influx of people to come in at that time, and they're very concerned about that.
Wow. You also sent us this picture of baby formula stocked up at a migrant processing site. You've got to explain this shot to us. Americans are desperate for baby formula across the country right now, and it looks like you got a real good stocking of baby formula here at the border. Georgia is one of the states that has continued to experience the worst of this shortage. And President Biden talked about the timeline of the baby formula crisis yesterday. Here's what he said, and then I want you to explain this picture. Watch.
Every single White Jack Center. Well, I don't think anyone anticipated the impact of the shutdown of one facility.
Didn't the CEOs just tell you that they understood it would have a very big impact?
They did, but I didn't.
I became aware of this problem sometime in early April about how intense it was.
So he says he wasn't aware of the problem, even though we heard directly from the CEO of Abbott, who said in January they knew that there could be a problem. Here's the shot of the baby formula at the border. What's this all about?
Well, we did see baby formula, the infant formula at the border, and of course we were looking for it. And you know, it's so sad because when you walk into these warehouses that they have here, particularly the Donna facility, which is where they have the unaccompanied children and the families there, it looks like a Costco. I mean, it just shelves of all kind of different materials. But the baby formula was the most upsetting of all of that because, and I have to say that the president's not being truthful here. Maybe he didn't know about it, but that just proves how tone deaf they are at the White House, because during the Energy and Commerce O&I committee meeting, it was indicated that there was a whistleblower letter sent to the FDA back in October that didn't get to them until the middle of February, and they blame it on mailroom issues. The administrator Caliphate blamed it on mailroom issues. I mean, this is ridiculous. This has been, the infant formula shortage has been building up for months. It didn't just happen when the facility in Michigan was closed down. Yes, that exasperated it, and yes, it amplified it, but this has been going on for quite some time now.
Well, look, you're a pharmacist and a doctor yourself, Congressman. Is there anything you want to say about President Biden's capability to lead this country right now? I mean, it seems to be on full display with all of these gaffes.
Well, you do have to wonder about his cognitive skills, and I question that. You know, and look, if he needs help, we need to get him help. But it just seems like every decision they're making is the wrong decision here. And now we hear that they're going to be forgiving student debt. My goodness, how unfair is that? And I just don't get it at all.
Yeah. Congressman, thanks very much for going down to the border. I know it's a tough trip. I've done it several times, and it's important for you to be there and communicate what's going on. Thanks very much. We'll talk soon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.